Meeting of the Federal Communications Commission. Madam Secretary, take your time. But whenever you're ready, please introduce this morning's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you and good morning, Commissioners. Today's agenda includes one item for your consideration and one presentation. First, you will consider a report and order that allocates spectrum in the 413 to 457 megahertz band and adopts service and technical rules for medical micropower networks, which rely on new types of implanted medical devices that use functional electric stimulation to, among other things, restore sensation, mobility, and function to paralyzed limbs and organs. Second, you will hear a presentation on the Commission's recent broadband adoption efforts, including a first-of-its-kind national effort to address the barriers to broadband adoption, digital literacy, and the employment skills gap. This is your agenda for today. The first item on today's agenda will be presented by the Office of Engineering and Technology. Julius Knapp, Chief of the Office, will give the introduction.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. In March 2010, the Commission published the National Broadband Plan, which set out a comprehensive approach for facilitating broadband deployment in the United States. The plan highlighted a number of national purposes that would well be served by improved broadband deployment, and one of these national purposes was healthcare. The plan recognized that mobile broadband, whether through the introduction of new wireless devices for monitoring patients or applications delivered by smartphones, can improve outcomes and lower the cost of healthcare. The FCC has undertaken a number of initiatives that would enable the introduction of new services for healthcare, and our staff works closely with other federal agencies, such as the Food and Drug Administration, to advance the healthcare agenda. The report and order that we are presenting today is one of the initiatives that would advance the provision of healthcare in our nation. The report and order will modify the Commission's existing medical radiocommunication device rules to enable deployment of a new generation of wideband medical implant devices known as medical micropower networks. These implanted devices will be used to restore sensation, mobility, and other functions to paralyzed limbs and other parts of the body. The Office of Engineering and Technology is working on other proceedings that will advance the healthcare agenda. These include rules to enable the introduction of medical body area networks, or M-bands, for wireless patient monitoring in healthcare facilities, and changes to our experimental licensing program to facilitate research and development in wireless medical devices. We expect to present to the Commission recommendations on these proceedings early next year. Joining me here at the table are Geraldine Matisse, the Chief of the Policy and Rules Division, Nicholas Oros, an attorney advisor in the Spectrum Policy Branch, and Jameson Prime, who is Chief of the branch. In addition, I'd also like to acknowledge the contributions to this item that were made by Peter Giorgio, Mark Settle, Alan Stilwell, Ira Keltz, Bruce Romano, Rashmi Doshi, William Hurst, and Steve Jones. The item will be presented by Nicholas Oros.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The Office of Engineering and Technology offers for your consideration a report and order that would expand the Commission's Part 95 rules to support a new and innovative type of low-power, wideband medical radiocommunications technology, medical micropower networks. These networks consist of implanted devices that can restore sensation, mobility, and other functions to paralyzed limbs and other parts of the human body. They represent a transformative medical technology. When fully implemented, medical micropower networks could enable paraplegics to stand, could give quadriplegics the ability to use their hands to grasp, and could alleviate common and chronic conditions that are not responsive to pharmaceutical treatment. Countless Americans, such as our wounded warriors, the nearly 2% of the U.S. population that suffers from some form of paralysis, and those whose disabilities are considered very difficult or impossible to treat, are poised to benefit from the innovative devices and cutting-edge medical therapies that could be developed under the new rules. These devices can improve patients' quality of life and cut medical costs. They also show the ways that technology can transform and improve the state of the nation's healthcare. As an expansion of the Commission's existing mid-radio rules that govern implanted devices, the report and order represents the next step in the Commission's long-standing support of the medical radiocommunications field and its continuing commitment to facilitate the introduction of new and evolving medical applications and technologies. The medical micropower networks that will operate under our new rules are different from existing types of implanted medical radio devices. They will consist of a series of tiny implanted microstimulators that wirelessly communicate with an external controller borne on the body and provide functional electric stimulation to nerves and muscles. The report and order allocates a total of 24 megahertz of spectrum in 4 segments of the 400 megahertz band on a secondary basis to support these networks. Because the implanted devices have limited power, it is important that they operate on frequencies that offer favorable signal propagation within the human body. Because the networks will transmit large amounts of data in short time periods, they require wide channels to successfully operate. These low-power, wideband medical networks will also use innovative technology to function in the presence of existing Commission licensees and federal government users. For example, while the devices may only use one frequency band at a time, the report and order requires that a network be capable of operating in all 4 frequency bands, regularly monitor the frequency band in which it is operating, and switch to another frequency when it is no longer able to use the current band. By using these and other techniques, medical micropower networks offer a real-world example of how spectrum sharing technologies can promote more intensive and efficient use of our limited spectrum resources. As the demand for spectrum continues to grow, the use of technologies that share spectrum will only become more important. The new medical networks that can be deployed in the 400 megahertz band will offer a safer, less surgically invasive, and more effective method of treatment than existing therapies. The Alfred Mann Foundation has developed prototype devices under an experimental license, and extensive testing and evaluation of its low-power, wideband medical devices have demonstrated that the medical micropower network technology can reliably operate in the presence of high-power core channel services. The video that we will now show was produced by the Alfred Mann Foundation and illustrates their developmental work in this area and the potential benefits that this technology holds for individuals. From 2005 to 2008, the Alfred Mann Foundation collaborated with clinicians at the University of Southampton in England to test a predecessor to their medical micropower network system to restore upper limb function to post-stroke patients. The 7-subject study was conducted in 3 phases, adding ancillary sensors and external devices to provide additional functionality. All of these external systems are now contained within the medical micropower network system. The video demonstrates the promise of an implantable, functional electric stimulation system for restoring the functions for people who have suffered stroke, including potentially the restoration of neural pathways.
It's just amazing the difference it's made, and I think really everybody should have the chance, and unfortunately they don't, but it should be for everybody.
It's like magic when it happens for real. And there's also the human aspect of it, which is that maybe what you've done is going to actually help make a difference to somebody's life.
After the surgery, my wife and I were sitting in this room, And when the actual hand opened up for the first time ever, and it was the first time we'd seen it move, I mean, she sat there crying, all right, because it was just unbelievable. Right? And to see it move, then I knew, right, this is what I want, this is what I want to do, let's go for this.
We're studying the effect of using Micra Stimulators in the recovery of movement of the arm and the hand in people who've had a stroke.
This project is really very exciting for the potential that it has.
What we hope to be able to do with this project is to be able to help the brain relearn how to use these functions, at least the functions that stopped being used.
Technology has a lot to offer patients in the future, and I think that time is now to start bringing this into treatments.
Right, so what we're going to do first of all is we're going to have a look at you doing each of your activities.
After somebody's had a stroke, part of the brain dies, and that means that the connections between that part of the brain and the spinal cord is lost.
So this is all without stimulation?
Without stimulation.
Somebody who's had a stroke has what we call a hemiplegia.
Okay, so keep the shoulder back.
In the arm, this usually means that although they have the ability to grip and the ability to bring their arm towards them, they have a particular difficulty very often in reaching out and in opening their hand.
Thank you.
What we hope to be able to do with this project is to be able to help the brain relearn how to use these functions.
Micra Stimulator is a very small device, like this, and it's implanted into the arm close to one of the nerves.
So the operation involves making a number of incisions at carefully planned sites to deliver one of these microstimulators into each of the important muscle groups.
This is the controller. It picks up input from the patient, then it generates a sequence of events like extending the elbow, extending the wrist, extending the fingers.
I can physically feel the strength back in my arm and my hand. In the last 12 months, I have started to use it in a way that I'd never have used it before.
As soon as people began to hear about it, they were knocking on our door. And then it was actually a problem of really turning people away.
Cheers.
Which was not an easy thing to do. People who we knew could have benefited from it, but we couldn't accept on the study because we only had funding to implant 7 people.
And we were very lucky, because there was a lot of people wanting to be on that programme.
We need to know from them how they feel that it is.
So I like to try as much as I possibly can to get as far as I possibly can. And hopefully in the end I shall get to where I want to be, which I don't know where that is at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see.
Golf course, I thought.
Golf course, yeah.
The next generation of devices, we hope to replace those external sensors with a new device.
It's got its own power, so you will be able to get rid of all the external systems, you know.
It would be lovely to get rid of all the bags and boxes.
At this stage, we are at the phase of the Wright brothers when they just had completed their first maiden flight.
Potentially, if it works, one could imagine that a patient could have a whole series of bions in the arms and legs and maybe even the face or wherever, and would then be able to regain movement and a normal lifestyle.
So the challenges for spinal cord injury would be immense, but it would be a wonderful target to aim for.
I think that I have a reasonable imagination, but I think that my imagination is not big enough to foresee all the uses of this device that are going to be happening in the future.
Adoption of this report and order will allow devices, such as those being tested by Alfred Mann, to proceed on the path the patient used. The new rules will also inspire researchers to begin work on the next generation of implanted medical radio networks. These innovative and technologically advanced services promise to make effective use of the spectrum, enable new medical therapies for injured soldiers and other patients, and most importantly, improve the quality of life for countless Americans. The staff recommends the adoption of this item and requests editorial privileges.
Thank you very, very much. Obviously incredibly important. Let's proceed to comments from commissioners. Commissioner Copps.
Great item. That's so impressive to see something so sophisticated and advanced, and then hear the fellow say this is the Wright brothers era that we're in. That's the world we live in, I guess, and it's exciting. So often in our discussions of spectrum, we get a little bogged down and hung up on the arcana of issues like data rates and competition and interoperability, but every once in a while, and this is one of those once in a whiles, we get a chance to talk about something that really can improve lives for people in very direct and very meaningful ways. I am pleased, I'm more than pleased, I'm delighted that we're taking action that will dramatically improve the lives of potentially very many of our sisters and brothers who suffer from neuromuscular disorders. The devices we help enable today can serve as artificial nervous systems to restore sensation, mobility, and function to paralyzed limbs and organs, traumatic brain injury, stroke, cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, I guess the list goes on. Today's action allocates 24 megahertz of spectrum and 4 band segments for the med-radio service on a secondary basis. The band here, 400 megahertz, is well suited for propagation inside the human body. These devices employ the latest techniques for efficient use of spectrum and interference mitigation, tools like spectrum sensing and dynamic frequency selection. The low power of the devices means they themselves will not pose interference to their neighbors. So there's so much to like about today's order, the good it will do to restore critical functions for the injured, the innovative interference mitigation techniques, and the strong federal coordination with our partners at NTIA and the Joint Spectrum Center. I salute the Alfred Mann Foundation for its work with the Veterans Administration and other hospitals under its experimental license and its exhaustive research that has paved the way for our action today. And my hope and expectation, like yours, is that we'll soon be able to build on today's action by addressing related proposals for medical body area networks, which have the capability to track people's health status and which can prove hugely helpful in a number of scenarios, one being emergency situations and other proceedings that you mentioned. I want to pay special thanks to my friend Commissioner McDowell and salute him for the leadership he performed in getting this item moving initially. We would not be here doing this today without him. It was an item he brought to my attention as soon as I became acting chairman back in 2009, and together we got it teed up then. I also thank the Chairman Janikowski, for following through and getting us to the finish line this morning, and other colleagues, present and past, who helped move it along in the interim. And thanks in addition to Julie and his talented team, all of you, for putting together such a thorough and such a welcome and path-breaking order that's going to, as you said, change many lives for the better for years to come. So it's a happy day. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's commission action represents the best of government performing a core mission, helping others in need. Sadly, it has taken the government far too long to act in this important proceeding, and regrettably, bureaucratic delay literally forced disabled patients to wait much longer than necessary to benefit from some amazing emerging technologies. Nonetheless, I've had the privilege to work closely with the Alfred Mann Foundation throughout this challenging process on the regulatory aspects of its groundbreaking research, and I'm delighted that this day has finally come. Neuromuscular injuries and disorders impose tremendous physical, psychological, and financial burdens. After years of investment and research, the Alfred Mann Foundation produced remarkable technologies that allow paralyzed people to regain use of their limbs. Such a vision was imaginable only in the texts of science fiction a few short years ago. Yet the Alfred Mann Foundation has made it a reality for stroke victims, people paralyzed in accidents, and America's wounded veterans. AMF's miraculous inventions, however, require low-power use of specific wireless frequencies, hence the need for government approval. From a technical standpoint, we are implementing a sharing technique that maximizes efficiency and employs spectrum in a dynamic manner. important policies for which I've advocated for some time. It has been a lengthy process, yet very much worth the wait. AMF is poised to revolutionize medical treatments and therapies to improve the lives of millions of people and to bring a measure of comfort and peace of mind to their families and friends. So congratulations to AMF for its perseverance and commitment. Thank you to Chairman Janikowski for bringing this order to a vote, and also, of course, to then Acting Chairman Copps for moving forward on the notice of proposed rulemaking after that delay. And I do remember vividly our conversation in January of 2009, and thank you very much for your leadership to make this day possible. Thank you also to our very dedicated team in the Office of Engineering and Technology for all of your important work and also making this day possible. Most importantly, congratulations to the paralyzed patients who now have more than hope to support them. They will have the power of their own bodies. To you, I also offer the apology of your government for consuming nearly half a decade to reach this point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Clyburn.
Thank you. One of this Commission's key goals is to remove unnecessary regulatory barriers to the development and deployment of products and services that have the potential of improving the lives of the people we serve. So often, when we make substantial strides in this direction, the action fails to receive the attention it deserves because it seems difficult to construct a flashy headline or hard to generate the type of controversy which would carry on into the next news cycle. But in my opinion, this order is one of the most important the Commission has adopted during my tenure because the innovation it unleashes, medical micropower networks, has the potential to greatly improve the lives of those who are faced with some of today's most difficult medical challenges. And Mr. Chairman and colleagues, this took a special, about a month ago we got word that a friend of mine, my classmate, during a typical outing at a football game, suffered a significant stroke. So this particular item takes special meaning is special to me because of the potential he has as he recovers. In 2009, the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation published a report estimating that 5.6 million Americans suffer from some form of paralysis. The medical micropower networks that the Alfred Mann Foundation has developed uses implant devices to employ microstimulation techniques that may restore sensation, mobility, and other vital functions to limbs and organs. This is an exciting innovation that can lead to incredible breakthroughs for the millions of Americans that suffer from paralysis and other debilitating neuromuscular injuries or disorders. As the order explains, the beneficial impact of these micropower networks could also reach beyond the medical field. Because of the growing demand for wireless spectrum, we must promote more efficient use of allocated spectrum, and as a notice of inquiry this Commission adopted last November makes clear, dynamic spectrum use technologies could greatly advance this policy goal. Because these micropower networks leverage advanced spectrum use technologies, such as spectrum sensing and dynamic frequency location, they are also providing another business case for use of dynamic spectrum technologies. But this technological innovation did not come easy or cheap. The Alfred Mann Foundation has already spent approximately $115 million and has taken 11 years to develop this technology. I commend the ingenuity, effort, and sacrifice that were necessary to create these important medical treatment devices and services. And I wish to take another opportunity to applaud Julie Knapp and the talented OET staff for working through the technical issues in this proceeding. This day also represents an opportunity to highlight the potential the relevant federal agencies have to ensure efficient approval of important technological innovations in the future. For example, the Alfred Mann Foundation had to receive the necessary federal regulatory approvals not only from the FCC, but also from the Veterans Communications, NTIA, and several agencies in the Department of Defense, at a cost of millions of dollars in administrative expenses. Enhanced interagency collaboration has the potential to reduce the time and the economic resources it takes to get such a valuable product onto market, and I'm looking forward to being a part of an ever-improving collaborative engagement. That is why I was particularly pleased that last November, the FCC initiated a rule-making proceeding on the medical program experimental licenses, which seeks to promote ways that the FCC and other relevant agencies can help speed the development and deployment of wireless medical services to consumers. I encourage the industry to provide us with a clear record on how we can further improve in this area. So this is a great news day, a significant news day for the FCC, as the Commission is taking an affirmative measure to reduce barriers to deploy new medical devices and improve the lives of millions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clyburn. This may seem like science fiction, but it's not. It's already helped people who previously had no hope of recovering movement or motion in their limbs. The record makes this clear. It tells a story of a veteran who was paralyzed as a result of injuries and was treated with an early version of the technology we're advancing today. And thanks to even that preliminary treatment, the veteran recovered use of his limbs and 5 months later could perform rehabilitation exercises without using these microstimulators. Anyone wondering why we've made unleashing mobile innovation one of the FCC's highest priorities needs to look no further than that example, the other testimonials in the record, the stories we heard in the video during the Bureau's presentation, as we saw new wireless networks and technologies have the potential to enable paraplegics to stand and to facilitate other breakthrough treatments for victims of spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, and strokes. These broadband-enabled technologies are life-changing, affecting individuals, families, communities in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Now, this may be, today, this action, the most dramatic step we've taken to harness the benefits of communications technology for healthcare, but it's not the first. In our National Broadband Plan, we identified healthcare as an enormous area of opportunity for broadband and new communications technologies. We pointed to ways that broadband can improve healthcare quality and lower costs, including, for example, remote medical monitoring. Wireless devices can help diabetes patients track their glucose levels, or heart disease patients monitor cardiovascular data. I met parents in Seattle who was there with their child whose life was saved because the child who had a heart condition received cardiovascular medical monitoring, and emergency personnel were notified when something went wrong where there were no symptoms other than what was transmitted through the remote spectrum-based monitoring. As part of our mobile broadband agenda, we've taken a number of opportunities already to seize the opportunities of what some people call mHealth. We entered an unprecedented partnership with the Food and Drug Administration to help ensure that communications-related medical innovations can swiftly and safely be brought to market. We've taken steps to facilitate spectrum sharing and improve and expand our experimental licensing program. We've proposed to ease testing restrictions on universities and research organizations and proposed a program to speed development of new health-related devices that use spectrum. Today's order builds on this work and promises to dramatically improve the lives of millions of Americans who suffer from spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, strokes, and various similar disorders. These debilitating injuries, it goes without saying, severely impair quality of life and pose significant medical costs. Americans incurred costs of approximately $74 billion in 2010 for stroke-related disabilities and $60 billion in 2000 for traumatic brain injuries. Of course, the true cost of these injuries is immeasurable. The devices that we expect to be deployed under the rules we adopt today hold the promise of safer, less invasive, more effective, and ultimately less costly options for treating these patients than anything previously available. And we're talking about, we don't often get to do this, medical miracles, allowing paraplegics to stand up, to restore hand grasp function for quadriplegics. Incredible potential for veterans, accident victims, people born with disabilities. Medical micropower networks have been shown to reliably operate in spectrum shared with other services, and as some of my colleagues have mentioned, this is one of the important innovations in the order we adopt today. So we're not simply approving a new technology that has this miraculous potential. We're also pursuing an innovative approach to spectrum policy that's generating efficient use of the scarce resources in a way that is getting this innovation on the market, and by doing so will help incentivize other innovations in the future. Commission action today will not be the last along either of these lines. It won't be the last on spectrum sharing and spectrum efficiency, and it won't be the last on harnessing communications technology for medical benefits. Early next year, I expect that we'll act with respect to medical body area networks for wireless patient monitoring in healthcare facilities, and we will make changes in our experimental licensing program to facilitate research and development of wireless medical devices. I'm also pleased to announce today that the FCC's Office of Engineering and Technology is issuing an order allowing Second Sight Medical Products Incorporated to market a retinal prosthesis that will help restore functional sight for individuals with certain eye diseases. So thanks to the work of this incredible group sitting here, and ultimately thanks to the incredible innovators who are working on these technologies, as my colleagues have said, we are taking actions today that literally will help paraplegics walk and blind people see. Second Sight's Argus 2 retinal prosthesis is a medical implant system designed to treat blind people suffering from advanced retinal degenerative diseases. The system consists of a neurostimulator surgically implanted on the eye, a pair of eyeglasses housing a miniature video camera, and an external video processing unit connected to the eyeglasses via cable. So we're seeing incredible advances in communications technology combined with spectrum-related advances in both technology and policy, leading to these incredible benefits for people with serious disabilities. The video camera, in connection with this technology, captures images that are converted into instructional signals by the video processing unit and sent back to the eyeglasses to be wirelessly transmitted to the implant. The order that OET will release will permit the device to exceed the Part 15 limits for intentional radiators when the data signals are transmitted from the eyeglasses to the implant. This is necessary to help blind people see. The FCC will continue to work on these types of policies, harnessing communications technology to bring benefits to the public, focusing on spectrum efficiency and incentivizing innovation. I want to join in the thanks to each of my colleagues. I couldn't be happier to have inherited this item from Acting Chairman Copps with the great push from Chairman McDowell and Commissioner Clyburn. Thank you to you for helping get this over the finish line. From all the different examples that you've heard today, you can see the terrific work that FCC staff is doing. OET deserves the lion's share of the credit for this, particularly the people who worked on this item: Julie Knapp, Geraldine Matisse, Jamesine Prime, Nicholas Oros, and Peter Georgiou. I do want to thank Amy Levine in my office for helping push this through as well. And as always with these items, our General Counsel's office, our Wireless Bureau, other people in the Commission were essential to making it work. So thank you all very much. This really is a big deal, and let us proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. So ordered, and the request for editorial privileges is granted. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please announce our next item.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, next on your agenda, the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau, the Wireline Competition Bureau, and the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau will provide a presentation on the Commission's recent broadband adoption efforts, including a first-of-its-kind national effort to address the barriers to broadband adoption, digital literacy, and the employment skills gap.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McDowell, Commissioner Copps, and Commissioner Clyburn. Thank you very much for taking the time to hear from us today. And if I can quickly just introduce the team again. To my right is Jordan Usdan from the Wireless Bureau, and Melissa Conway from CGB, and Sarah Citrons to my left from the Enforcement Bureau, and Trent Harkrader from the Wireline Bureau down at the end. As you know very well, and as going back to the work on the National Broadband Plan, adoption and the issue of adoption has been something that's critical to this agency and import to the country. Too many Americans right now aren't connected, and as a result, they're not able to seize the wonderful opportunities of broadband at home. Whether that's the economic benefits of getting a job or finding a job or getting job skills, whether it's connecting to government through e-government and all the resources at state and local and federal levels that are online, whether that's the educational benefits that we can find from broadband and the wonderful rich content that exists today to help a child get supplemental educational help at home, extra tutoring, or the benefits of what I think will be more and more prevalent of digital textbooks at home, and making sure that people of all backgrounds are able to connect, and schools are able to offer all the tools of technology to enrich education. So one thing that has been clear, I know, from the Commission is that we have to do something to help close the adoption gap, and it's a rather pronounced gap. There are a third of the country does not connect at home. That compares to places, other countries like Singapore and Korea, which have north of 90% adoption rates. But unfortunately here in the United States, 100 million Americans, or nearly 100 million Americans, are not connecting at home and don't have all of the ability to tap into the rich content. So if I can turn it over to Melissa for a minute just to talk a little bit about all of the benefits that are out there and what people could be tapping into. Melissa.
Broadband is increasingly becoming a basic requirement for meaningful participation in the 21st century workforce and global economy. Today's job seekers must have a basic digital literacy skill set that will enable them to find appropriate job openings online, to apply for those jobs, and to actually get those jobs. Indeed, more than 80% of Fortune 500 companies, including major employers like Walmart and Target, require job seekers to apply online. And studies show that 50% of jobs require digital literacy skills, a percentage that is expected to grow to 77% of jobs in the next decade. Knowing that digital literacy has become a prerequisite to getting jobs, we can tackle this challenge head-on and turn it into an economic opportunity for more consumers to be online, for the creation of billions in added economic value, and for millions more Americans employed with digital literacy skills. Broadband is also increasingly important for education. One study found that students with broadband at home have 6 to 8% higher high school graduation rates than students without broadband at home. By increasing the number of student adopters, teachers and parents will be better able to take advantage of online tools that will help students succeed in school. E-government is also an opportunity. Today, government spends millions of dollars each year on paper communications. If we move more government services online, we will create greater convenience for broadband users, which will, in turn, create cost savings for government. And healthcare. The ability of a senior citizen, for example, to access online health information concerning prescription medication or receive remote diagnostics and treatment can be life-saving as well as cost-saving. Home broadband can enhance patient care, reduce depression, and result in billions of dollars in cost savings and improved health. By enabling and encouraging more Americans to become adopters of broadband, we are taking a significant step in furthering our nation's economic success.
Of the economic, educational, and other societal opportunities that broadband promises, it is important first to understand the demographics of the roughly 100 million Americans still without broadband at home. The digital divide is in some sense an educational divide.
Is it back? Hello? Sorry. Going back.
The digital divide is in some sense an educational divide. Among Americans without a high school diploma, less than 30% have adopted broadband at home compared to 84% of college graduates. The adoption gap also reflects income disparity. Members of households earning less than $15,000 a year are almost 3 times less likely than members of to use broadband at home than members of households in the highest income bracket. Other segments of the population at risk of being left behind include African Americans, Latinos, citizens of tribal nations, and seniors, all of whom have adopted broadband at home at rates of 50% or less. To take advantage of the many opportunities that broadband presents, we need to also understand why so many Americans are not yet using broadband at home. The FCC's research for the National Broadband Plan identified 3 primary barriers. 36% of non-adopters indicated cost was their primary reason for not using broadband at home, and cost includes cost of service and the cost of a computer. 22% cited digital literacy-related concerns as the primary obstacle to using broadband at home, including a lack of basic computer skills and concerns about internet safety. And 19% of non-adopters explained they didn't use broadband at home because they didn't see its value proposition, its relevance.
So given that we know the 3 primary reasons that people aren't adopting, the question, of course, is what can we do about it? One thing that's been very clear from the research and that has come out of the adoption task force here at the FCC working so hard to try to figure out what to do is that there is no silver bullet. The 100 million is not one solid group. You have to look at various populations and different backgrounds separately, and that's what we've tried to do through our work. Beginning with the National Broadband Plan, and then this past May, Chairman Janikowski challenged those in the broadband ecosystem to help close the adoption gap, recognizing that that the private sector could play a very rich role in helping to do so, especially given financial constraints and with taxpayer dollars. And as a result, the Adoption Task Force met with more than 100 stakeholders to try to put their heads together to figure out what to do about each piece of the ecosystem and each barrier. If you see here, and of course I would say just as this builds on the work that of other parts of the agency that are already working on adoption, whether that's the Lifeline broadband proposal, what came out of the Comcast NBC merger, and the CenturyLink Quest merger. And what we found is when you look at the actual ecosystem, if we just go to the next slide, when you look at the actual ecosystem, there you have to actually address each piece. If you just take on cost, that alone won't do it. If you just take on the relevance issue, that also isn't going to be the answer. You need to look at it holistically. And so what you see in this ecosystem, and these are the various people we met with, one on the, there's the internet service piece and the device and hardware piece that deals with the cost. There's the content piece and the marketing, which deals with relevancy and that barrier. And of course, digital literacy, which is the third barrier we mentioned a minute ago. And you need to also constantly measure what's happening in any effort, and we start to think about that very early on to make sure that you're taking the right steps. And now I'll turn it over, but before I turn it over to Jordan, I would say that the result was we worked with we realized given the constraints that the best way forward would be outside of government, and we were able to work with an organization called One Economy, who agreed to help set up a new initiative called Connect to Compete, which is in essence a new nonprofit housed within One Economy to deal with this entire ecosystem and to deal with private sector and nonprofit partners to bring them together and try to conquer this challenge. Now, because the 100 million, it's not homogeneous, you need to deal with it in pieces. The first piece we worked with Connect to Compete on was school lunch eligible families, for the primary reason that if we can help children, and especially those in especially lower income children, get some of the opportunities, the future of the world is their oyster, and we can really help make a difference there. Also, children tend to teach parents, and research shows parents and grandparents in homes, and they can make a significant difference.
Thank you, Josh. So let's consider the adoption ecosystem and the package that Connect to Compete will be putting together, initially targeted at school lunch families. So let's zoom in on the service providers. ISPs, as we know, are a central component of the ecosystem, and the cost of broadband service is also a major barrier to initially adopting broadband. So the cable industry is stepping up to the plate with a multi-billion-dollar in-kind offering to the millions of families eligible for the free school lunch program. As we saw this morning in the New York Times, about 17% more families across the nation are now eligible for school lunch than they were just 4 years ago. So it's critical that these students have the opportunity to connect online to get the jobs of tomorrow. So the cable industry's offer is for $9.95 per month for 2 years with no activation fee. The service area reaches all 50 states. And to be eligible, you not only have to be on school lunch, but you also cannot be a current subscriber to broadband or owe money to your cable company. The sign-up window for the 2 years of service is across 3 years, starting in certain Phase 1 cities early next year, and going nationwide during back to school during the start of the 2012 school year in August, September of next year. The next part of the ecosystem is, of course, the device and software, which you need to connect to broadband. And research has shown that the upfront cost of a device actually is also a major barrier to initially adopting broadband. Connect to Compete is working with Redemtech, which is a PC refurbishment company based in Ohio. They have put together a $150 plus tax laptop or desktop offering with free shipping to the home that includes a 90-day warranty and phone tech support. It is a business class computer with a Core 2 Duo processor. As you see, the other specifications are on the slide. It also comes loaded with Windows 7 and Microsoft Office Suite. There are also strong default family settings on this offering. Secondly, Microsoft, for those families who prefer a new laptop, will be developing an education-focused laptop starting at the $250 price range beginning next year. And finally, Morgan Stanley has also stepped up to help Connect to Compete develop a microfinance plan for those families who can't afford the initial upfront payment for any of these PCs. As we learned earlier, digital literacy is the second major barrier. You need to have the basic technological skills to understand how to work a computer and take advantage of the internet. Best Buy and Microsoft are committing have made major commitments to help Americans become digitally literate. These offerings will be open for the entire country, not just limited to the school lunch population. In Best Buy's case, they're using their Geek Squad employees to go out and beginning in 20 metro areas next year, hopefully expanding to more. They will also include Train the Trainer sessions where the Geek Squad will team up with a grassroots organization such as a Boys and Girls Club and actually teach the staff members there the skills to go on and teach additional members of those communities into the future. Microsoft is providing basic digital literacy training as well as advanced training, including Microsoft Office, beginning in 15 states with plans to go nationwide. This also includes a new online training portal, so for those people who live in areas where they can't physically get in-person training, they could access this online. One lesson we actually learned, which Josh referred to, is that there's also an advanced skills gap where we want to provide a path for people to get basic skills, but then also advanced skills such as job skills. As Melissa said, 77% of jobs in the next decade will require advanced technology skills. So we're glad that Microsoft has stepped up to the plate with that offering. And finally, but certainly not last here, are America's public libraries. There are over 6,000 locations across the United States where formal technology training is currently offered. So you could go up and get these classes for free at these 6,000 locations. That encompasses about 38% of all library branch locations in this country. But I note that these training locations aren't completely equitably distributed across the country. A lot higher proportion of libraries in urban and suburban areas offer training, and less than a quarter in rural areas offer training. Back to the ecosystem, let's talk about content for a second. We know that relevancy, or the value proposition, is a major barrier. So one thing that Connect to Compete is looking to do is provide an easy on-ramp to find wholesome, helpful, relevant content for new adopting families. There will be a default homepage for Connect to Compete on the PCs that will be provided. The focus here is both on education for the school lunch students and also on job skills for the families. The major content providers across the job search and job skill websites and education websites are offering either free exclusive content or content for free that was previously behind a paywall. There are two examples on this slide here. Career Builder will offer $1 certification courses and also flag which jobs are available that require skills that you could acquire through online or online training. And also Discovery Education is making some exclusive content available to help students with homework and other learning content. And certainly not least is marketing. We know that this effort will not be run by giving great presentations here in the Commission meeting room. It's going to be one out in America's communities, out on the ground with our trusted partners. A few of those are listed here on this slide. Also like to thank Commissioner Clyburn for helping to galvanize a lot of these groups to really serve as our tech evangelists in the communities throughout this country to make sure that people are aware that these offerings are there and that there's help to get on broadband and take advantage of all the amazing digital opportunities. Outside the ecosystem, you need an independent measurement to make sure that it is, number one, effective, number two, that we could understand what worked and what didn't so we could course correct and provide feedback for future efforts, both along the private sector lines and for government efforts of what works and what doesn't here. We're so happy that Nicole Turner-Lee, who leads the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, a leading center for study of technology adoption, will be serving as the independent evaluator to measure, to collect the data, and provide feedback to the public on what is working here and what's not working. Now I turn it back to Josh.
As we said earlier, there's no silver bullet. This is a great first step, and really I think will help close the adoption gap in a significant way. We also, the team is looking at other populations and communities like seniors, like people with disabilities, and we will continue to do that. We thought we'd put up just a few future milestones that you can see that are happening at the Commission, that will be happening also with Connect to Compete in terms of when the launch will be. Just in December 7th, the FCC is hosting an International Adoption and Accessibility Conference. We'll be in early 2012 holding workshops here with various companies who are doing work in adoption to understand what they're learning. And I think this will take continuous work, but I think it's significant progress and other actions that the agency are doing will help continue to close this adoption gap, which we believe is critical for the country. Thank you.
Let me ask if any of my colleagues have any comments. Commissioner Cobbs?
Thank you very much to the chairman and to the presenters for helping us keep our focus on broadband adoption. I was thrilled more than a year and a half ago now when we issued the National Broadband Plan. Finally, as a country, we had a strategy to encourage the delivery and adoption of high-speed, opportunity-creating affordable broadband to all Americans. And then in adopting universal service and intercarrier compensation reform last month, we began to address concretely the challenge of broadband deployment in unserved communities. But we did so, I think, all of us cognizant that deployment is only part of the solution. Adoption is the other critical component, perhaps an even larger part of the nation's broadband challenge. So I'm pleased at this focus. I'm pleased that the chairman has taken many steps to focus attention on adoption. Certainly the Connect to Compete initiative, which you talked about, is one of those. Also grateful of the fact that Commissioner Clyburn is lending her considerable expertise and commitment to the ongoing challenge of broadband adoption. I like that tech evangelist title there. That's cool. A significant and immediate step that the Commission can take to improve broadband adoption is to use the Universal Service Fund's low-income program to support broadband, and I was hoping we could get that vote in before I left these hallowed portals, but apparently it's going to be a few weeks more. But I look forward to action early in the new year with great anticipation. But just as reforming the high-cost program does not guarantee ubiquitous broadband deployment, so use of the low-income program to support broadband does not guarantee ubiquitous adoption. It goes, as you all said, far beyond that. We have to commit as a commission and as a country to finding new and creative ways to get everybody connected. And one of those ways is certainly the public-private partnering that you talked about. You talked about working with One Economy, the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, and many others to improve our broadband adoption strategy. It's not a question of either or, government sector or private sector. The government is never able to do any of these things alone. The private sector is not able to do the things before us alone. That's never how we built this country. We always built the country by working together and having a government vision and a public policy vision, with the private sector as the lead engine, the locomotive pulling it all, but with some kind of direction and sense of what the country needs to move in. So that's the kind of partnering and kind of context I hope we can develop our future broadband adoption strategy in. And then just a final word while I still have a bully pulpit up here. Several of you mentioned media literacy, and I really hope that's something that the Commission will tackle foursquare. I know we're at work on it already, but I think there's a tremendous role for us to play. Call it digital literacy, call it media literacy, call it news literacy. It's all in this basket of new literacies that we have to come to terms with as a country. And we've got to make some down payments on this in a coherent way. There's so much going on out there in the world in the way of digital literacy, the different components. There's lots of private sector groups, there's state governments, there's others that are all doing things, but nobody knows what everybody else is doing. And we really need to find a way to convene the players, and as a down payment on media literacy, really get up online a K through 12 digital literacy, media literacy, news literacy program. You can make this interesting for kids, and it's not just schools I'm talking about, but the schools I'm focusing on today. You can make this interesting at K through 12, how to use these tools, how these tools can misuse you, how you identify a reliable source from an unreliable source, fact from opinion, all of these different things that are so essential. You know, long term, coming to terms with this, we're going to have to reconfigure the entire educational system of the country. It's going to take a long time. You're going to have a whole new generation of teachers to teach, curriculum to design. But the down payment would be to get something up online now with the resources that are out there, with maybe some seed money from the private sector, philanthropies or foundations, the Department of Education or somewhere, or all of these together. It wouldn't cost that much. I think you could do that in a year. You could put up a K through 12 program, and school districts would be free to use it or not use it. It's not big brother government forcing anything on any locality. It's just something, a tool that would be out there, be a great down payment on the literacies that we need to instill. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but I did anyhow. So, but this is a great report, and it's really a core mission, as the chairman has told us since he got here, of where this commission needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cops. Commissioner McDowell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that very revealing and thorough presentation. Obviously, you all have been working very hard on it, and look forward to continuing to work with you throughout next year on this important issue. You know, when it comes to broadband deployment, a little historical context is important as well. In 2003, only 15% of Americans had access to broadband. Now, this is not adoption, this is just deployment. As the FCC modernized its rules in the years that followed, by the end of 2009, about 95% of Americans had access to at least one form of broadband. And I think with our action last month on repurposing the high cost fund, that was only last month, it seems like a decade ago already, doesn't it? But a lot has happened. But that hopefully we can help fill in that gap for availability now for that last 4 to 5%, depending on which statistic you want to see. But what's been interesting is, you know, I've been at the commission for about, well, tomorrow will be 5.5 years. And in those 5.5 years, 5.5 years ago, the term smartphone wasn't used. And nobody really saw it coming. My third child and the iPhone were born in the same year. And he gained mastery of it before he could walk. It's sort of amazing. The term tablet wasn't used 5.5 years ago. Well, it was, but it's what you took your vitamins with or something, but it's a different context. So we don't know what's coming around the corner. And what's very exciting is to see many of the communities and socioeconomic groups that you pointed out before as having less or lower adoption rates using their smartphones and their tablets as their computer. I mean, we should stop calling them smartphones. They're much more than a phone. They are a mobile computer, and it's doing wonderful things. So I want to make sure whatever we do does not get in the way of those trends that we cannot foresee, that these are positive, constructive trends, but that we try to enhance or fill in the gaps if necessary. So as we go forward and continue to work on this, thank you for your thoughtfulness, and look forward to learning more.
Thank you. Commissioner Clyburn?
Closing this digital divide is essential for our nation's economic development. As the internet has developed, it has become essential for everything we do: work, education, socialization, and more. As Josh pointed out, excuse me, Mr. Gottheimer, as he pointed out, the U.S. continues to trail many nations as it relates to broadband adoption. About 1/3 of our citizens, as you reinforce, lack broadband internet access at home, and too many are cut off from vital information and services, and this is especially pressing for vulnerable communities. But when the federal government merges with the private sector, great things can happen. Our nation can reach its greatest potential. So Connect to Compete is something that's exciting for me, because it especially realizes that the broadband adoption challenges need to be tackled on the ground via personal relationships in close communities. Connect to Compete will highlight why broadband is relevant, why digital literacy is paramount, and why the obstacles to it are not as insurmountable as they used to be. It rightly recognizes that cost remains a huge issue and confronts this head on through creative programs. But what is important for me is that those who will be delivering that messages will be neighbors, librarians, next door neighbors, families and friends of those most deserving. These will not be strangers to those most deserving. These will be people with long-standing history of caring and working in the community, and people who are proven and trusted partners. Those elements are essential for this to work. I am committed to being a part of the solution. Partners like One Economy, the Urban League, the United Way, and others have built strong and lasting relationships with churches, boys and girls clubs, school administrators, and again, the overall community, and they are best to get the message across sometimes, most times, better than, dare I say it, regulators. By providing broadband services and computers at affordable prices, this public-private partnership allows for citizens who were once shut off to be engaged in incredible ways. I will do all that I can to ensure that this is a success. And Josh, I want to especially thank you and the team for not giving up, for being very aggressive, I've heard, but being aggressive with a purpose, and all of us will be the beneficiaries. So I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Clyburn. Thanks to each of you for that report, for this work. You very well summarized the issues, and so have my colleagues. So let me just make a few points. One, we have made broadband the focus of our efforts at the FCC. We've made it clear that broadband opportunities, seizing those for the American people and our economy, is central to our mission at the FCC. Broadband innovation, broadband deployment, broadband adoption. We're focused today on broadband adoption, and it is a critical part of the national challenge. Why? One, because the opportunities are immense. You've heard that from the team. The other is because the costs of digital exclusion are rising every day. Think about people who are looking for jobs. As job postings have moved almost entirely online only, if you're not on broadband, if you don't have access, you can't even find the jobs. If you don't have basic digital skills, you're increasingly not eligible for jobs that are open. So closing the broadband adoption gap is critical to address these costs of exclusion around jobs. Education is another example. Increasingly, schools and teachers are relying on broadband to be part of the curriculum. One, because kids need to learn about these technologies today in order to become participants in our economy and our society, and the other is because they can be a real force multiplier for teachers, can help improve education, and can help extend education to kids who live in areas, who go to schools that don't have access to teachers in particular areas. Broadband makes all of the information on the internet available to teachers and students. I think we've all talked to teachers who have to confront every day the broadband divide. Teachers who say, half my kids have broadband at home, half don't. I'm stuck. If I don't give out broadband-related assignments, then I'm leaving all of my kids behind, and if I do, then what am I supposed to tell the kids and their parents who don't have broadband at home? And so this is just some of the motivation of this work. There is no silver bullet, as we've heard. It's a national challenge that for us to tackle, no single actor can solve alone. The government can't solve this alone. It requires the government, the private sector, nonprofits working together to identify this as a national challenge and to solve it. That's been the focus of these efforts. The Connect to Compete initiative is a very important part of it that has just enormous potential. In addition to thanking the team for working on it, I want to thank all of the companies and nonprofits that have stepped up and said, yes, this is a national challenge and we want to be part of the solution. In the months to come, I look forward to seeing additional organizations join those efforts. I want to acknowledge the input from One Economy, both its CEO, Kelly Dunn, and its founder, Ray Ramsey, who are playing, of course, such an instrumental role in Connect to Compete. At the FCC, we continue to have work to do The reform of the high cost fund part of USF was important not only for deployment, but also for adoption, because if you live in an area that doesn't have broadband infrastructure, you can't adopt. And so that effort alone, in addition to helping drive deployment to parts of the country that don't have it, millions of Americans, it will also help with adoption. Our E-rate program remains an incredibly important initiative. Modernizing that program with broadband adoption in mind has been an important part of our efforts. The pilot program on mobile connectivity is something that can help all of the traditional purposes of E-rate and broadband adoption. And of course, modernizing Lifeline can make a real contribution to these efforts. I want to thank all of my colleagues for the focus on broadband. This was something that Commissioner Copps, as a commissioner, as an acting chairman, and consistently has spoken about with great persuasiveness, and Commissioner Clyburn, from her first day on the commission, has made addressing the digital divide a real priority. And I thank you very much for that focus, and also for your participation and energy as part of this effort. We have a lot more work to do, but I look forward to working on it with all of my colleagues. Let me conclude by specifically thanking the people who have worked so hard as part of the broadband adoption team, and I know I'm going to leave some people out, but Jordan Eustan and Melissa Conway and Sarah Citron, Treat Harkrader, thank you all. Josh Gottheimer, thank you for your energy and efforts and enthusiasm for this presentation today and for this important work to close the digital divide. And that concludes the broadband adoption portion of this. So thank you very much. And I'm going to move on and present the FCC's Employee of the Year Awards. This is not the first time that we have done this at a commission meeting. We did this last year, and I heard terrific feedback not only from people around the agency, but also from my colleagues on taking a few minutes to acknowledge the employees who are this year's winners. Each year, the Commission, in cooperation with the FCC chapter of the National Treasury Employees Union, solicits nominations from throughout the agency for Employee of the Year, an award that recognizes outstanding achievement and contributions to the mission of the agency. From those nominations, a joint selection committee comprised of both FCC management officials and representatives of the NTEU recommend one or more employees to share in the award. This year, from the many outstanding nominees, the Joint Selection Committee recommended 2 individuals for this prestigious award, and I'm so thrilled with the selection and very pleased to be able to announce them. First, from our Wireline Competition Bureau, I'd like to recognize Merva Charles. Ms. Charles is a program analyst she's here. I'm going to ask her to stand up, but there we go. Thank you. And now I'm going to talk about you for a minute. Ms. Charles is a program analyst who not only supports a large staff of attorneys, but also works directly with the public on the resolution of issues associated with domestic Section 214 authorization filings. A dedicated Commission employee since she was a high school student recently. Ms. Charles completed her 4-year college degree while in WCB and has continued to use her skills to assist the Bureau on many fronts. In particular, Ms. Charles has taken the initiative to learn new and important skills associated with the FCC's website, embracing new technology critical to the streamlining of 214 applications and keeping the public informed of numerous telephone company transactions. In addition, Ms. Charles is always available to help WCB staff in times of need. As part of the application and submission process, one of her colleagues writes, Merva's level of efficiency is unsurpassed. She solves problems for the public, the Commission, and staff, and thanks to her assistance, the 214 team was able to process 100% of our 214 applications on time in FY 2010. So I'm pleased to be able to recognize this type of consistent dedication to excellence, commitment to her team, and contributions over time to the mission of the agency. Once again, let us congratulate Ms. Merva Charles. And our second and final recipient of the 2011 Employee of the Year Award is Sandra Gray Fields from our Enforcement Bureau. Thank you. Ms. Gray Fields is an enforcement analyst whose quiet competence and efficiency, this comes from the submissions, have contributed to the Commission's ability to provide excellent customer service in the resolution of formal complaints. To quote her nomination submissions, her consistently superior and flawless performance of her duties single-handedly keeps all the cases in the Market Disputes Resolution Division moving. This dedicated FCC employee has many duties, including ensuring that all pleadings are properly logged in, distributed, readily available to the public. She maintains a database that provides up-to-date information on all of the division's formal and informal complaint matters, allowing our attorneys to easily track the status and progress of their cases. So thank you again, and please join me again in acknowledging and recognizing the contributions of Ms. Gray Fields. I want to thank the Joint Selection Committee for its hard work in reviewing a long slate of deserving nominees and in coming forward with such terrific recommendations for this year's Employee of the Year Award. This type of day in, day out dedication to the mission of the agency, work of the highest quality, commitment to excellence, commitment to all of our various customers and consumers at the FCC, demonstrated by Ms. Gray Fields and Ms. Charles. They are not only the traits of our most outstanding FCC employees, they're the foundation on which the agency's work is built and to which all of our employees aspire to every day. Congratulations again to this year's Employees of the Year, and I look forward to another great group of nominees next year and to announcing next year's winners a year from now. Do any of my colleagues have any announcements? Commissioner Copps?
I do have one. First of all, let me join in extending congratulations to Merva and to Sandra on your well-deserved recognition and awards. This is just further testimony to what a great place this is, what levels of competence and expertise we have here, and what an outstanding commitment and dedication to the public interest. So we're proud of you, and I'm proud of all the team here at the FCC. I do have one announcement. This will be my final announcement in addition to the staff, but we are so pleased that we managed to persuade Lisa Hone to come up from her position as Special Counsel in Competition Policy Division to help us out for the remainder of my term on USF and Lifeline link up, all of the wireline issues. We are very fortunate to have her there. It'll be a brief time, but it's a very busy time. Most of you here know Lisa. She's been at the Commission in a number of positions. She was at the Federal Trade Commission before coming here, where she was Assistant Director in the Division of Marketing Practices, involved in a number of issues there too, especially privacy and things like that. She's been in private practice. She is a lawyer and a graduate of the University of California Law School, Los Angeles, where she was president of the Public Interest Law Foundation. That sounds great because it is great. Proud of that. She has the added distinction of being a major in history from Wesleyan, and the double distinction of being married to an historian, American historian too. How about that? So that's great. And Lisa, if you just stand up and take a bow and thank you. And I want to thank her, and I want to thank the chairman for making it possible for me to have the benefit of her work for the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
No specific announcements other than to congratulate Merva and Sandra as well. You are leaders. You are an example for all of us, and thank you for everything you're doing. Again, keep it up. We want to not only recognize your excellence now, but to see you get even more excellent as time goes on. So thank you, congratulations.
Thank you. Commissioner Clyburn?
Thank you. And I, too, would like to congratulate Ms. Charles and Ms. Gray Fields for being such superior people and superior employees. Thank you so much for inspiring me to be superior. Thank you. Thank you. I would also like to take a moment, if you would, to mark the last week of 4 incredible law interns who've been serving in our office for the last few months. Lori Stock, Drew Spoor, and Elena Intrieri, and Kate Mirian. I think they are here. I thought I saw them. Oh, they're over here. Oh, there they are. Oh, were you over here earlier? Okay, see, oh, okay. I am not totally losing it. I know I saw them over there. They have contributed so much to the Clyburn team over the past few months. Their strong work ethic and sharp minds have been invaluable to the office, and they will be missed. Hopefully they will keep in touch. I don't think we did work them hard, but hopefully they will still keep in touch, and we want to let them know that we wish them the best, and thank you very much for serving our office.
Thank you. And if there are no further announcements, that concludes today's commission meeting. Madam Secretary, please announce the date of the next FCC agenda meeting.
The next agenda meeting of the Federal Communications Commission is Tuesday, December 13th, 2011.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Merger deal, is it all salvageable?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on I'm not going to speculate on what might happen next.
Commissioner Copps, excuse me, had mentioned that he'd wanted to vote on the Broadband Lifeline thing, but doesn't look like he was going to get a chance. Is that official? There's no chance of being voted on circulation before the end of the year?
I'm not sure what we've announced, but I think we're looking for early in the first quarter for Lifeline.
In the generally well thought out staff paper released yesterday on the proposed AT&T acquisition of T-Mobile, staff took exception to the AT&T premise that an upgrade in broadband from 2G to LTE would create X number of jobs. Yet hasn't that been a basic commission premise in calling for a national broadband plan and spectrum auctions?
Well, 2 points. One is the staff report speaks for itself. There are 2 different situations that I think you're referring to. There's a horizontal merger with billions of dollars of claimed deficiencies on one hand, and on the other, modernization of programs to get broadband to millions of people who don't already have it. In both cases, we've made the analysis public and transparent.
Cecilia? Yesterday, your staff said that the FCC will share an unredacted version of the report, staff report, with the DOJ. What way, if in any way, do you expect the FCC to participate in the Justice Department's case against AT&T and T-Mobile's merger in court?
There are established practices for the agencies to cooperate with each other in matters where both agencies have statutory responsibilities, and those practices will be followed here. No, go ahead, Cecilia.
Did you coordinate closely with the DOJ and did your staffs coordinate closely? If you can just give any sort of insight into how you guys did coordinate in the past and how you expect to continue that, or if at all going forward.
There are, in the ordinary course of business, in the context of transactions like this, there's coordination between the parties, and I think the staff can provide you more detail on how that happens. Of course, we have independent jurisdiction. We make independent decisions about matters before us, but that's something that I think the staff can help explain more of the details.
Is the FCC, are you guys done with the merger?
The transaction can't ultimately go forward without FCC approval. If a transaction is filed with us, of course, we'll review it.
Did you release the report yesterday to further decrease the odds that this deal would be approved by DOJ? What was the reason for releasing the report?
You know, our mission at the agency, in general and both with respect to transactions, is to promote a competitive marketplace that drives innovation, investment, and consumer benefits. The report that was released yesterday was a report developed for public release in an important matter that remains highly relevant. The parties have said they intend to pursue the transaction, and the FCC still has the responsibility ultimately to approve any transaction. And the reasons to release it were the ones that were discussed yesterday. Fairness to all the parties that have participated in the extensive proceeding, and transparency. Thank you, everybody. All right. Thanks, all.
Can I ask a question about an item on the agenda today, Mr. Chairman? Really quick.
I'll take more questions on items on the agenda.
Yeah, it's just a question on the Alfred Mann issue. Commissioner McDowell, as you heard, criticized the agency for bureaucratic red tape. Why did it take 5 years to get something that looks like a slam dunk public benefit through?
Well, I can't comment on what happened before I started. From the time that I started, harnessing the opportunities of broadband and spectrum for opportunities like this was a high priority. And the staff was given a clear directive to move forward and get this done as quickly as possible. There were some obstacles outside of the FCC that Commissioner Clyburn referred to. But getting this done and the other things I mentioned was important, and continuing to move forward on unleashing innovation like this is a high priority.
How concerned are you that in bringing digital literacy to new populations, they will fall prey to the seemingly never-ending, too good to be true schemes that many of us have become resilient to, but obviously some are still plagued with? I mean, oftentimes these are lower education people living in rural populations, and yeah, we all agree with the broadband's a wonderful thing, but
we have to focus on the opportunities that broadband provides, the ways that it is absolutely essential to participate in our economy and our society. I mentioned that you can't find a job without broadband, you can't land a job without broadband skills. It's increasingly not an option to not have access to broadband if you're a student in school. To the extent that there are issues, obviously those have to be addressed, and I've talked about those on other occasions. But the opportunities are essential, and I've said before, broadband has clearly gone from being a luxury to being a necessity, and we have to take that seriously as part of our efforts to provide broad opportunity and to drive our economy. One point that I'd make quickly again in closing, if we increase the broadband adoption rate from where it is, about 68%, to 100%, or roughly where telephone service is, if we do that, we will double the size of the online market in the U.S., which will be a real boost for our economy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll now turn to the agenda item. Julie Knapp from OET. And Brooks, you may have the first question. Oh, well. All right. I think the chairman said, well, check with the staff on that. So here's the staff. Julie? Brooks?
Just to address Commissioner McDowell's concerns, it did, when you just look at it, it does seem like it took an awfully long time to get this approved.
Yeah, as the chairman said, we had moved forward with the proposal and have moved quickly from the time that the proposal got out. Bear in mind, it is a cutting-edge technology, both on the medical side and on the techniques that it uses, and much of the spectrum that is involved is allocated to the federal agencies. So there was a very rigorous testing process that was undertaken to be absolutely sure that this was going to work and not have any adverse effects.
Anything else on the item?
I had a question about the presentation.
No.
Broadband presentation
Okay, we'll get to that. Anything else on the OET item? Thank you, Julie. Now, Josh, we'll be able to take your question on the broadband.
Hi. I just wanted some clarification on the role of Nicole Turner-Lee. You'd mentioned that, but is that her as an individual, or is it her representing? She's with the Joint Center now, I believe.
For the Joint Center.
So it's actually the Joint Center that's doing it, or is it just her? Or
I believe the Joint Center, with whom we should confirm this with her, at her leadership there, and her role, capacity there, will be working with Connect to Compete, the nonprofit, to develop metrics and standards to test the progress here and make sure and keep the program accountable, hold the program accountable, and make sure that it's delivering upon intended results.
And just as a follow-up, and is that a contractual relationship? Is the FCC paying for that the work that's being done?
The FCC has no formal contractual relationship with Connect to Compete. Again, we've been more of a galvanizing force in the adoption ecosystem to try to bring people together to bring progress to adoption in this country for all the benefits the chairman was talking about, right, for education, for healthcare, for the economy. And we brought many of the players together to talk to each other and Connect to Compete. This was the public-private sort of initiative-driven, and Connect to Compete on the outside, I know, is working with Nicole Turner-Lee and the Joint Center to help in that process. Thanks. Sure.
And just to follow up on my question to the chairman, how are you able to provide education to new populations that are just going to be getting broadband for the first time through some of these programs?
That's a great question. I mean, you're asking about digital literacy, right? I mean, clearly we know that's an obstacle. It's one of the reasons, as the research shows, that people aren't adopting broadband. Too many Americans just don't know how to use a mouse or how to or use a tablet or how to post on their email, to post a resume or sign up for an email address. And so, again, this is one of those things that's going to take many different entry points. So America's public libraries, we know that 38% of them are offering the in-person classes on basic digital literacy. We're working with them to try to get the numbers up so that more libraries are doing that. But then Best Buy with the Geek Squad is going to be doing classes on the ground. So different people, Microsoft, as you saw, is also doing offers. And then all these community-based organizations that we listed before, many of them have classes or are going to be encouraging people to help them find the way to a class and to get training. We need to, they need trusted partners on the ground, and that's why it's so important to help people get those basic digital literacy skills, right? It's not connecting just to have a connection, but actually understanding how to use the technology. And part of the reasons people don't adopt is because of that. So it's going to take time, and also the marketing piece is very important because you want to show people the relevance, right? Why it's so important to your education for your children, why it's so important to getting a job, and that's why we need to make sure that people from a marketing perspective understand, and the tools available perspective, understand all the rich content that's out there, which will hopefully too make them want to go get the digital literacy skills if they don't have them.
Getting an offer from a group in Nigeria to make $100,000 and wasting your time and effort and money to do that. I mean,
I think many of the digital literacy classes, the basic digital literacy classes, teach sort of sort of the 101 risks, right? So like you're saying, right, be aware of getting what to look out for, not to get hoodwinked. Know that certain things are deals where you have to be careful going online, and I think the internet safety piece, what you're talking about, both for your children, but also basic cybersecurity principles and being a good actor online is part of the most basic digital literacy classes. And a lot of the players are coming together to talk about what needs to be sort of universally in these basic digital literacy classes. Right now there are many that go on, but there should be certain principles like the one you're talking about, which is a great point, to help educate people about.
Thank you.
Please.
Would that internet safety piece also include the kinds of issues like were raised in the FTC settlement with Facebook yesterday, that even a place where you're going, where they're not necessarily a bad actor in the way that somebody who's trying to get your bank account number from Nigeria supposedly is, but still might be doing things with your information that you might not even understand they're doing. Is that kind of issue covered?
I think the basics of privacy, as we were talking about, some of the basics and information I know that the folks that we've met with and talked about what's the content of basic digital classes, points like that are always raised, and they're really important. Now, we all learn from being online, and I know I have over time. You sort of see which things where you have to be careful and where you should share your email. In the beginning, I probably shared my email too much, and now I'm on 3,000 lists. Right, so I think there's a lot we can teach, and then you learn over time. But yeah, that of course those basic tricks and traps and those sort of things. I'm not saying yesterday was a trick or a trap, but the general tricks or traps or what to look out for in terms of sharing information are all part of that. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you all. This concludes the press conference, and this concludes today's agenda meeting. Thank you.